Attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Millennium TV 24, you know what it is. It's a good look at news today with me, Kim Seabrook, and I want to thank you so much for always being here for me. So what we're going to do is start off with, I like to start off what's going on right here in our city, New York City, and the big story is going on with Cuomo. But Chris Cuomo, his brother, breaks silence on brother's scandal. Says he told Governor Cuomo to resign. He's a CNN anchor. Chris Cuomo has broken his silence about his brother's sexual harassment scandal, telling viewers that he told Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign. I never cover my brother's troubles because I obviously have conflict, and there are rules at CNN about that, Chris Cuomo said at the end of his show Monday. My position has never changed. I never misled anyone about the information I was delivering or not delivering on this program. Cuomo Primetime. He's a host that had been on vacation last week when his older brother Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation as New York governor. Cuomo is stepping down after a report released by New York State Attorney General Letitia James concluded he sexually harassed at least 11 women. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, a Buffalo native and Syracuse University alumni, will become the state's first female governor on August 24th. Chris Cuomo said he wasn't able to report on it due to a conflict of interest, saying that Governor Cuomo's previous appearances on the CNN show were short-lived and were meant to focus on the COVID-19 pandemic. He called the situation unlike anything that I could have imagined. The CNN host added that he tried to be there for my brother and admitted advising the governor to resign. I did urge my brother to resign when the time came. And Chris Cuomo said on the air, adding that it was something I never imagined having to do. Cuomo, 51, is the younger brother of the 63-year-old outgoing governor who appeared on Cuomo Prime multiple times during the early months of the coronavirus. Last year, CNN said in February that it designated a ban on Chris Cuomo interviewing or covering his brother as Governor Andrew Cuomo faced criticism over New York State's delay in providing data on COVID-19 nursing homes death. The Cuomo Primetime host did not mention the news while other CNN programs covered it, and Chris Cuomo's name appears 4 times in AG James' page, one of several outside advisors who were regularly provided with confidential and often privileged information that impacted the government despite having no formal role, deputy, or obligation to the state. CNN said in May that Cuomo Primetime host admitted communicating with his brother about the sexual harassment allegations and ordered him to stop. But next, what we have is about cops. They are seeking the MTA motorman who let his gal pal operate the D train in New York City. Welcome to New York. An MTA motorman allegedly let his girl pal operate a D train through multiple stations during a Tunnel of Love trip in Brooklyn on Friday. And the next stop could be jail, because cops are looking to question the wannabe conductor, Dominique Belgrave, 28, after she posted an Instagram story showing her and her beau, identified by police as Terrell Harris, holding hands over the train's controls on their romantic jaunt through the 50th Street, 55th Street, and 62nd Street stations. Yes, this is me operating the train right now, Belgrave says in one of multiple videos posted to her account, which has been made private. At one point, as the Love train choo-choos through the underground stations, Belgrave is shown in footage alone at the controls and posing for a selfie with Harris in the cab. As the train zips toward Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue, Harris explains that the marker showing where operators must stop is hard to see from the cab. And Belgrave echoes the complaint. "Y'all ain't put the stickers in a visible place," she exclaims. The nerve, huh? A third clip shows her entering the public section of the car saying, "Back inside I go." Belgrave's caption reads, "Conducting the D train, you heard?" Footage on the transit-loving temptress driving the motorman wild went viral among MTA workers over the weekend and eventually caught the eye of a supervisor. who reported them to the NYPD, police said. But the rule-breaking ride may be the third rail of career moves. Interim Transit President Craig Cipriano said Harris will be disciplined. The 32-year-old 11th year MTA employee, this is terrible, earned $117,000 in 2020. That's according to See Through NY. The video is beyond egregious, showing a train operator who betrayed the trust of New Yorkers while creating a dangerous condition. Very true. Cipriano said in a statement, also, I want to assure customers that the operator involved has been removed from service and will no longer be allowed to control a train. Interim Transit President Craig Cipriano said Harris will be disciplined, and the 32-year-old 11th-year-old employee, as I mentioned before, earned $117,000 in 2020. So again, the video that shows them on the train, he's letting his girlfriend ride the train and handle the controls, and as they stated that this was a dangerous condition to have for the passengers. He also stated that he will be removed from service and will no longer be allowed to control a train. Well, what we have also going on in New York City venues start checking COVID vaccines as its mandate expands in state New York. The vaccines mandates are rapidly expanding by the day, with the state ordering hospital and nursing home workers to get COVID-19 inoculations, and New York City poised to start requiring them for anyone in restaurant dining rooms, gyms, museums, and many other leisure venues. Just as yesterday, there was a huge hip-hop event over in Orchard Beach, which is outside, but you were unable to go there unless you were vaccinated. So this is very interesting. So let's keep going. The new policies aim to go people into getting vaccinated as New York, like the rest of the country, confronts a coronavirus wave powered by the highly infectious Delta variant of the virus. As vaccination rates leveled off this summer, some cities, states, and federal agencies have rapidly shifted from encouraging vaccination to either or requirements, inoculation, or testing, to a flat-out insistence on vaccination for some settings or workforces. Just buy into this because it's going to work for all of us. It's going to make us all safer. That's what New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said on Monday. But in a nationwide first for a city government, the Democrat announced earlier that this month that the proof of vaccination would be required to partake in much of public life, from indoor dining to gym workouts to theater. Other cities, including San Francisco, later followed New York's move. New York City's mandate goes into effect Tuesday, that's today, through actual enforcement and won't start until September 13th. But yep, that's what's going on here and in other states. But next, here's some information for you if you want to know what's going on with the New York State Fair. Here's some questions people have. Will you need a mask? Proof of vaccination, health screening, and this is in Getty's, New York. The New York State Fair returns in 2021 after a year off due to COVID-19 pandemic. Here are some answers to some of the big questions on the fair's COVID rules and other health policies. Are masks required? Masks are required for everyone inside buildings. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear one outside. Unvaccinated people are supposed to wear them at all times. Masks and hand sanitizers will be available at guest service booths. Okay, let me just keep going. Is proof of vaccination required? No, the fair will operate on the honor system. No proof of vaccination will be required for anyone or any events. That includes concerts at the fairgrounds. Are vaccines required for fair employees or vendors? No, but they are supposed to wear masks if they're unvaccinated. Will there be health screening? No, the fair isn't planning temperature or symptom checks at the gate or anywhere else. What about cleaning? Workers will deep clean and sanitize heavily used areas and surfaces throughout the fair. The fair has also limited cash sales for tickets and parking passes at gates and allots to cut down on close contact between fairgoers and workers. Are there capacity limits? No. So when Governor Andrew Cuomo announced in June that the fair would return this year, he said it would be at 100% capacity outdoors. At the time, capacity limits were planned for buildings, but that's no longer the case. Buildings will be at 100% too. So what about the social distancing? The fair is planning for more space between vendors, indoors and outdoors. There will be more room between midway rides too. All that will help provide more space for attendees. Outdoor vendors will be spaced 12 feet apart, something that was not required in the past. The fair had been planning to create more room so that between vendors, even before the pandemic, there's enough space. In addition, the fair's bigger concerts will take place this year at the Chevy Park stage on the western edge of the fairgrounds. There's a lot more room than that at the Chevy Court, so that should help attendees spread out. And any extra air purifiers in the buildings? No. Is testing required? You won't have to show proof of a negative COVID test at the gate or anywhere else. That includes concerts at the fairgrounds, but the fair is offering free rapid COVID tests for fairgoers and vendors. The fair is encouraging any workers who are unvaccinated to get tested for COVID before opening day. For fairgoers, rapid tests and vaccinations will be available at the Art and Home Center daily. And here's another question. Can you still walk around with your food? Officials are asking people to sit and eat instead of walking around. The request mimics guidance for restaurants during much of the pandemic. So when patrons were only supposed to take their mask off when seated. But to help get more people sitting, the fair bought more picnic tables and posted signs encouraging people to use them. The message will go out on social media too, but there won't be any food police running around the fair telling you to take a seat if you're eating fries on the go. Here's another question. What if COVID cases spike more during the fair? New COVID cases and hospitalizations have been on the rise across New York for weeks now, and Onondaga County is also seeing increases. So fair officials say that they'll follow any new guidelines and policies required by the state at any time. If the state policies on mass gatherings change, for example, the fair will just adjust. Rules and plans could change at any point until opening day and even during the fair if necessary. The fair runs August 20th to September 6th. It's the first time for the event. Will go for 18 days. And Kathy Hochul, this is our next story, reforms advocates. She sees hope, but she is proceeding with caution. During her time as Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul has said that it's time to rethink our criminal justice system. And she also reiterated that she has evolved from her previous push against driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. Now she's days away from being governor after a sexual harassment scandal resulted in the pending resignation of her president. Andrew Cuomo, her governorship, which begins August 24th, will come amid a surging coronavirus Delta variant, as well as its ensuing social and economic upheaval, all which have disproportionately impacted communities of color. Despite her prior stance on driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, many advocates hope that Hochul will pursue a robust agenda, including racial justice and parole and immigration reform. And many of those same voices view Hochul with much more optimism than Cuomo, who signed a bail reform and closed several prisons, but who has been criticized for being unrelenting toward his opponents. But New York is at a crossroads, said Gabriel Sayeg, who is the co-executive director of the Cato Center for Equity, Health and Justice. We have an opportunity in New York to pursue an agenda on equity, an agenda on healthcare reform, and justice reform. In the past, Hochul has supported many measures put forth by the Cuomo administration and as his lieutenant. In a July interview, she has said that the bail reform enacted under the Cuomo administration created a fairer criminal justice system, but said that there may need to be adjustments to the law, which eliminated cash bail for misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. Well, think about the system that existed in the state prior to our reforms, where two individuals are accused of the exact same offense. One ends up going free, walking the streets, and the other is incarcerated. The only difference, what's the only difference? One was rich or poorer, whether they had the money to make the bail. And that's what she told the news outlet. So that is no longer the system in the state of New York. And I think most people agree that it is a fairer system. Hochul will now define a path, though there could be some approved reform bills from Cuomo's time in office that will be waiting for her when she becomes governor. One such bill may be the Less is More Act, which would allow those on parole who are accused of non-criminal technical violations to be issued a violation and a date to appear instead of being taken into custody. The bill has gotten support from a wide coalition, including several faith leaders and district attorneys from across the state. But Cuomo has not signed the measure into law. And Sayeg of the Cato Center, which is a leading organization behind the proposal, Sayeg hopes that Hochul will sign it if Cuomo doesn't, and that she'll go further. We would hope that the Governor Hochul would step in and tackle those problems with real energy and to work with New Yorkers who are impacted by these issues and really try to advance policies that are focused on equity and trying to unravel the injustice that becomes too familiar. But what we're going to do, we're going to go into a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. I am Kim Seabrook. I have a special guest for you. You're watching the Good Looking News on Millennium TV 24.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care. Convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. We work 100% for the 99%. Over 20 years, we've helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Back to Millennium TV 24. You're watching the Good Looking News on Millennium TV 24. But here we go. We have a special guest. And as you know, if you've been watching the past few days, we have been highlighting some amazing people who have just been through some traumatic times with drugs and also on the opposite side of selling drugs as well. But they're making a huge difference in our communities. And this is what we like to represent here on the Good Looking News. So today we have Jessica Ann. Jessica Ann, hey, how are you?
Hey Kim, how are you today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you're from Oklahoma City, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Oklahoma City. I know quite a few people over there, so we appreciate you guys for supporting us. And let's see. So we want to get into, someone recommended you. I have requested some people to, discuss their story with us. Let it send out to the world, and maybe we can help someone at the same time, right? So yeah, so talk about your recovery. You were a meth addict for about 20 years. You lost your son, you lost your job, you lost so many things, and that I'm just really saying it real quick, but give us some background on who you were, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I struggled with addiction in my teens all the way up until I was 40 years old. Sold drugs, did drugs, prison, homelessness, lost custody of my child, pretty much the bottom, everything that you can imagine that happens in addiction happened to me. And about 5 years ago, I don't know, something just changed. And I heard a voice tell me like enough. And I don't know, something happened from that day forward, and I've been on the road to recovery ever since.
That is awesome. So awesome to hear. So let's go back through your struggle. You say you started as a teen. So I'm not, in our area, and we're in New York City, however, we are, watched globally, but in our area, just like crack was the epidemic. And I know that you say you were meth. You had an addiction to meth. What, at such a young age, how did that affect you? Like, how did that become like something to do in your community?
Well, it started out just partying, doing the party drugs, and I was part of like the rave scene in the 90s, so it was real normal for all of us just to be, partying and having a good time, and somebody introduced me to meth, and that was pretty much all she wrote. I struggled with it for a very long time.
I know. I seen some, documentaries and things like that where people were addicted, and they just said that it hits a hormone to where you feel happy. So that's what makes people continue to do it. Is that the feeling that you got as well, that, you know?
Yeah, I found out later in life that I was actually struggling with bipolar depression. And I think when I first started using that drug, it just brought me to a different level. And, you know, in the beginning, it seemed like it was a miracle drug. And, you know, I think that's how it tricks people into addiction. It feels so good at first. And then before you know it, you just have to have it. You're sick without it. And it just really, it takes a hold of you physically from that point.
Absolutely. So I'm well aware it's a lot. It's a lot. How? So I know something hit you in your head and you was like, oh gosh, okay, this is it. Something told me I got to stop. What was the process in that? Did you go to a rehab? Did you, you know, what did you do? Because some people do and some people don't.
Well, I got detox very unorthodox. I had a friend who lived in sober living, a male friend, and I was squatting in an abandoned apartment for about 2 years. And it started with him just bringing me into the sober living house and letting me take a shower and do laundry. And it was just like day after day, I just started getting introduced a little bit to recovery. They would take me to meetings. There would be free food there. I wasn't used to that.
Right.
And I think, you know, it allowed me to feel human again. And it just put one day to the next. And then I just decided, you know, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I feel so much better without it, you know?
Yeah, you know, I could see it. I could feel it. I could see it in your smile. I could see it in your face. I could see that, you know, you're done. You know, and 5 years is still not a long time. So how do you manage every day to still keep going? What is it that is it your son? Is it other things? Is it just that smile that you continue to have every day? What keeps you pushing? Because maybe we could help somebody else who doesn't know how to get out of that situation.
You know, my son is a big motivating factor for sure. He keeps me, you know, on my toes every day. He's 13 years old now, and so he is old enough to remember me in my addiction, but also old enough to understand, you know, what recovery looks like. And honestly, I just try to stay dialed in with my community. I started a homeless outreach a few years ago, and I try to give back to the community, you know, every week. We're out there helping people with food and tents and supplies and things like that.
Absolutely.
We've taken our homeless community to 12-step meetings. I still attend, you know, NA and AA meetings periodically. So that's kind of how I keep it moving.
All right. And the organization is called Sandwiches with Love, where you provide bags of groceries. You help with, you know, people in the homeless area. You provide food to at least about 75 a week. You even provide dog food, which is important. Believe it or not, for those pet lovers, and you know, they need help too. Hygiene stuff, clothing, and again, and your love. So talk a little bit more. When exactly the Sandwiches with Love, come into existence?
Well, it's been almost 2 years now, and my son, he had a whole bunch of socks that he needed to get rid of, and it was like our first cold snap, and I decided, I knew a girl that was downtown doing outreach, and so I asked her, like, where can I take this stuff? And she gave me some locations, and I went down there, and I could not believe how many people were homeless living on the streets. I mean, hundreds. We've got thousands of people homeless in Oklahoma City right now. But the need was so big, and everybody was like, okay, I'll take these socks, but what else you got? We need food and water and dog food, and we need all of this. And so I didn't have anything because I just didn't realize the situation down there. So I just ran over to Walmart and grabbed, you know, some things for the community and went back, and I don't know, it was like people just appeared out of nowhere. I could not believe where these people were coming from, everywhere, needing supplies. And it was at that point that I realized, like, I felt like I had a responsibility at that point to do something. And so I just reached out, you know, to my friends and family, asking, does anybody want to help me bring sandwiches down there next week? And so we started off just with like packages of bologna and white bread, you know, but over the course of time, we've got some corporate sponsors, and so we're able to provide a lot, more nutritious food now.
That is awesome. So how can people go and assist you? What exactly do you need help with your organization to continue to make this successful and to continue to help our people?
Well, I like to say that we are for the people, by the people. So we rely solely on donations from the community. We take volunteers with us, usually just a couple of volunteers a week. If you would like to donate, we have a GoFundMe on our page right now. I mean, every little bit helps, and we use all of the money, directly to the people that we serve. And so if you want to get involved, send us a message through our Sandwiches with Love page, and we can either get you on the volunteer schedule, or if you have items to donate, we can, coordinate a drop off for you.
Absolutely. So do you have any success stories with anybody that you helped or any other of your friends? Give us one before we wrap this up.
Yes, I sure do. So I met a person when I first started, and needing a tent, I gave him a ride, and he told me later on, that he was super nervous that I was going to murder him when he got in my car the first time. But, him and his girlfriend actually moved into an apartment together, and that's been almost 2 years ago. And so Felicia, she's still in her same apartment, and then Colton, he's actually moved into a different apartment by himself. But they were, really, they were super involved in the beginning of Sandwiches with Love, showing me camps around the area and introducing me to people and letting people know that, hey, this is Jessica, she's safe, you can trust her to come into your camp. And that's how we started making connections in the community. So they are definitely my success story. For sure.
That is awesome. Well, Jessica Ann, before we do wrap this up, because our segment is just about over, where can they find you? How can they help? Give them the website or the Facebook page on how we can connect with you.
Okay, so we have a Facebook page called Sandwiches with Love. We're also on Instagram. We have a website that's just really basic at sandwicheswithlove.org. Or you can follow me on my social media page, Jessica Ann. I try to share inspiration and, recovery-based hope on that page too. So
absolutely. And before we do officially close this segment, give somebody some words of encouragement on, just give them some encouragement.
Take care of yourself. It's important to take care of yourself, to get enough rest, to listen to that inner voice that's telling you. A lot of people in recovery put too much on their plate in the very beginning, and I think it's just very important to set boundaries and recognize that this is a daily process. Every day we have something we can do to get out of ourselves and help the next person in need, and I really think that's how this thing works.
Absolutely. And Jessica, if it's really difficult for someone to listen to that what's the next step that they could do?
Reach out, go to a meeting, talk about what's happening in your head. I guarantee there's somebody in a meeting that understands what you're going through. So absolutely, that's my advice.
Great advice. That's what I was looking for. So good job. Jessica Ann, thank you so much. Just stay on until we go into commercial break. And we thank you. Thank you, Oklahoma City. Thank you for what you're doing for the world. We appreciate you. This is Kim Seabrook on the Good Looking News on Millennium TV 24. We'll be right back.
What does a Regis divorce, a Regis bankruptcy, and a Regis personal injury claim have in common? Regis lawyers. Lawyers who care. Convenient, affordable, respectful, and experienced. We work 100% for the 99%. Over 20 years, we've helped thousands throughout the Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, call or text us at 212-766-1100. Y sí, hablamos español.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Look at news, and what we like to do is spread love, spread information, and see what's going on in the world besides just negativity. So back to what's going on in the world. Outside of that, we are talking about the U.S., how they clears their first Western reservoir water shortage. They're triggering cuts for U.S. officials for the first time on Monday declared an official water shortage for the massive Lake Mead Reservoir. Is triggering supply cuts to parts of the drought-stricken Southwest as 10 Western governors appeal for federal drought disaster aid. The shortage will reduce water apportionments to Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico for the year beginning in October. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation and Interior Department agencies said that in a statement this past week, and Arizona will lose 18% of its annual apportionment, while Nevada will see cuts of 7%. Apportionments to Mexico, which are required under a 1944 treaty, will be cut by 5%. Separately, 10 Western governors urged President Joe Biden to declare a federal drought disaster in their states, qualifying farmers and ranchers to seek special assistance beyond what is available through existing emergency programs. Historic drought levels threaten to eliminate entire crops, depress yields, and harbor extreme levels of pest and disease that add to the ultimate loss. While not a surprise, the cuts in reservoir supplies will mean less water and tough allotment decisions for agriculture, cities, and Native American tribes in the parched region, which is in its 22nd year of drought. So we are seeing the effects of climate change. Tanya Trujillo, she is from the Interior Department. She's the Assistant Secretary for Water and Science. She said that in an online press conference, and she pointed to the region's lower than average snowpack, scorching temperatures, and dry soil conditions. Unfortunately, that trend may continue, Trujillo said. The drought has drastically reduced animal feed supplies across the West, sending hay prices soaring as many ranchers and farmers are forced to auction off livestock or to consider selling their land for development. And that was stated in a governor's letter. And the U.S. Drought Monitor report shows that drought conditions across 99% of the western United States, up from 63% a year ago, with an estimated 59.2 million Americans living in drought-stricken areas. And next we have in China, they blame the U.S. over Afghanistan, but says that they will work with it, and China has expressed a willingness to hold talks with the U.S. to promote a soft landing in Afghanistan, while heavily criticizing Washington and again demanding that Biden administration halt its attacks on China. Foreign Minister Wang Yi, in a phone call with Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Attorney Antony Blinken, said what he called America's hasty military withdrawal, the chaos accompanying the Taliban seizure of power in Afghanistan. And that was according to a statement from the Foreign Ministry. China is willing to conduct communication and dialogue with the U.S. to promote the soft landing of Afghan issue and avoid a new civil war on humanitarian disaster, and not let it become a breeding ground and shelter for terrorism once again. That was Wang who quoted. And ahead of the final withdrawal of U.S. troops, the Taliban have topped the Afghan military and government, entering the capital, Kabul, over the weekend. Wang said that China and the U.S. should cooperate on global issues and regional hotspots, but that the U.S. cannot, and on one hand, deliberately curb and suppress China to damage China's legitimate rights and interests, and on the other hand, count on China to offer support and coordination. A one-sentence State Department statement said that Blinken and Wang spoke about developments in Afghanistan, including the security situation and respective efforts to bring their citizens to safety. The Biden administration had been seeking China's cooperation on issues such as climate change while criticizing China over differences on trade and technology, security in the Asia-Pacific region, and human rights. Henry Story, a political risk analyst based in Melbourne, Australia, said that Wang is trying to portray China as a responsible international stakeholder in contrast to America's history of intervention in other countries. Wang called for strengthened strategic cooperation and coordination with Russia to encourage the Taliban to adopt mild and prudent religion policies and build an open and inclusive political structure with all parties, a Chinese Foreign Ministry statement would say. China has shown a willingness to engage with the Taliban, inviting leaders to a meeting with Wang in the Chinese city of Taichung just last month. And next, Taliban declared amnesty for Afghans and urged women to join the government on the Taliban on Tuesday, which declared a general amnesty for all Afghanistan and are urging women to join the government. Following the takeover of the country is an official with the group, and it was said that the announcement was made by Inamullah Samangi, a member of the Islamic Emirates Cultural Commission on Afghan state television, which the Taliban now controls. His statement follows the rapid collapse of the former Afghan government over the weekend, which came shortly as President Ashraf Ghani fled the country on Sunday. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan doesn't want the women to be the victims anymore, Samangi said. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan is ready to provide women with environment to work and to study, and the presence of women in different government structures, and that is according to the Islamic law and in accordance with our cultural values, adding that all sides should join the government. Amid the Taliban takeover, women in Afghanistan has raised concerns about their future and safety under the Taliban government, and that was stripped them of many basic rights when it last governed the country. While there are presently no major reports of abuses of conflict in the capital of Kabul, as the Taliban now control the surrounding area, many residents have remained at home in fear after the Taliban insurgency resulted in prison breaks and looted armories. Taliban officials reportedly began taking weapons from civilians on Monday, the same day that the international airport in Kabul became a chaotic scene full of panic and desperation as many Afghan citizens attempted to board planes and exit the country. Several even clung to the sides of aircraft and only to fall to the ground during the takeoff. President Joe Biden acknowledged the gut-wrenching scenes out of Kabul over the weekend, but stood steadfast behind his decision to withdraw United States troops by the end of August. I am deeply saddened by the facts that we now face, but I do not regret my decision to end America's war fighting in Afghanistan, Biden said later on Monday, adding that American forces cannot and should not be fighting in a dying war that Afghan forces that are not willing to fight for themselves. And in the story, female mayor in Afghanistan says that she's waiting for Taliban to come and kill me. One of Afghanistan's first female mayors said Sunday that she is waiting for the Taliban to come and kill her. You just seen a picture posted of her. That is the mayor. And she says, I'm sitting here waiting for them to come. There's no one to help me or my family. I'm just sitting with them and my husband. And they will come for people like me and kill me. Zarifa Ghaffari, the mayor of Maidan Shah, told the British newspaper, and I can't leave my family, and anywhere I will go. Ghaffari, 27, is Afghanistan's youngest mayor and the first woman to hold the office in Maidan Shah and Water province. The newspaper also reported that only 3 weeks ago, Ghaffari said that there was hope for her country, and the younger people are aware of what is exactly happening. They have social media, they communicate, and I think that they will continue fighting for progress and our rights. I think that there is a future for this country, Ghaffari said. Ghaffari was appointed in the 2018 in the summer by President Ashraf, and although there have been female governors and mayors before in Afghanistan, She is one of the few women who ever to have held a government job in the very conservative city of Maidan Shar. As the Taliban became resurgent, Ghaffari was given a job in the relative safety of the Defense Ministry in Kabul, with responsibility for the welfare of soldiers and civilians injured in terrorist attacks. Ghaffari fled the country on Sunday when the Taliban began inching closer to taking complete control after a week when city after city fell to the militants in the wake of the U.S. ending its 20-year military operation in Afghanistan. The Taliban's chief spokesman, Zabuli Mujahid, promised that Sunday the lives of women and opponents will be protected. Mujahid said fighters would be on standby on all entrances of Kabul until a peaceful and satisfactory transfer of power is agreed. In a separate statement, that was what was told, and a Taliban spokesman said fighters entering Kabul were unarmed on instructions from senior commanders. The Taliban advance and the ensuing collapse of the government set large numbers of civilians fleeing their homes, seeking refuge from both the fighting and the return of the hardline Islamist regime that ruled the country before 2001. And over 500,000 children are affected by Haiti. And I apologize, the last image you've seen was supposed to be with this one. So if you missed it, I just want to let you know that there's a lot going on because the UNICEF estimates that about 1.2 million people, including 540,000 children, have been affected by the powerful earthquake that hit Haiti on Saturday. The hardest hit departments of South, Nice, and Grand Anse are now being drenched by Tropical Depression Grace, which is further disrupting access to water, shelter, and other basic services. Flooding and mudslides are likely to worsen the situation of vulnerable families and further complicate the humanitarian response. It's so bad out there. Search and rescue efforts are underway, with official reports of over 1,400 deaths and 7,000 injured. More than 84,000 houses have been damaged or destroyed, along with public infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and bridges. Last night, I saw strong winds and heavy rainfall strike the same areas already affected by the earthquake, said Bruno Mays, who is UNICEF's representative in Haiti. He is currently in Les Cayes. Countless Haitian families who have lost everything due to the earthquake are now living literally with their feet in the water due to the flooding. Right now, about 500,000 Haitian children have limited or no access to shelter, safe water, health care, and nutrition, said Myers. Criminal violence and insecurity complicate the humanitarian response, and the main road from Port-au-Prince to the south of the country is controlled by gangs. And nevertheless, UNICEF was able reached affected areas with medical supplies within hours of the earthquake. A UNICEF truck delivered 6 medical kits to 3 hospitals in Les Cayes with enough supplies, including gloves, painkillers, antibiotics, and syringes to treat 30,000 earthquake victims over the 3 months. UNICEF and partners are distributing tarpaulins for emergency shelter, latrines and showers, water reservoirs for safe water distribution, and hygiene kits, including water treatment tablets, soaps, menstrual hygiene material, and jerry cans. In the courtyard of one hospital, UNICEF installed tents to shelter patients who feared the building could collapse. Additional supplies, including educational and recreational kits, will be rapidly mobilized, and UNICEF is planning community-based engagement activities to prevent family separation and to ensure protection and psychosocial support for children. UNICEF is working closely with the government and partners to carry out rapid assessments of children's needs. Also, they estimate that it would need 15 million to respond to the most urgent needs of at least 385,000 people, including 167,000 children under the age of 5. This initial funding requirement will be reviewed and adjusted in the coming weeks as the impact on children and families become clearer. But last but not least, we're going to close this out with community and Black business. Jean Nessica Soto, wife, mother of 2 boys, a financial controller of a leading tea supplier, manufacturer, and realtor, is a Latina and proud founder of Steep's Roots Tea Company. So Steep Roots Tea offers specialty herbal teas with functional benefits for your mind, body, and soul. Steep Roots' purpose is not only to share their love for teas, but to also bring awareness to the small things that we can do every day to make us more present, more positive, and to improve our overall well-being through tea and mindfulness. You can check out their website at Steep's Root. Let me say this again because I'm getting tongue-tied. I want to make sure I say it right. Sorry. You can follow their website, SteepRootsTea.com. That's SteepRootsTea.com. And the last but not least, we have the Master Blends Corp Barbershop, which is a Puerto Rican-owned barbershop located at 4755 White Plains Road in the Bronx, New York. That's near 241st Street. And Master Blends Corp Barbershop is owned by New York State licensed master barber Mr. Louis Anthony Torres, known as Tony by his clientele, and Tone Bone, the barber, for his lyricism and rapping skill. And his wife, Mrs. Enid Hernandez Torres, known as Mother Wildflower, a poet and a published author for Time, The Inner Mind of Enid. And these are some two wonderful people. The Master Blends Corp. It actually opened August 12, 2019, 6 months before the COVID pandemic hit. And the business has been blessed to maintain staying open and providing services to the Wakefield section of the Bronx community. Master Blends Corp Barbershop is a second attempt with a barbershop previously owned in 2004 to 2005 called Razor Flavor that was located at Unionport Road in the Bronx. And Tony has been cutting hair since the age of 11. He learned and he watched his mother, who was a licensed hairstylist, work right out of her home. Tony's haircuts are in high demand for many years with men and women due to his skills with regular haircuts, blowouts, kids cuts, razor edges, beard trims, mohawks, skin fades, military cuts, tapers, Caesars, facial razors, you name it, and he can do it. And yes, the hot towel shaves, nice and pampering for you men. Tony's barbering resume extends to travel requests for video shoots to haircuts for a few celebs such as Rozelle, the Godfather of Noise, Cuban Links, Allen Houston, who is an NBA player, Sidney Green, NBA player, Fat Man Scoop, you know him, Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, the Jungle Brothers, Drew Hill, and so on. As 2013, he works as a private contractor with barbering services for the Jesuit brothers and fathers at Fordham University. Tony hopes that he'll always have been to own his barbershop and build a team of professional barber skills, cutting in both clippers and shears. And in partnering in business with his wife, who is the boss lady, you know that the women are the boss ladies, as they call her. She is the creator for the design and build of the shop, oversees the management of the barbershop, and handles the background aspects of business. As a poet, she's performed at Master Blends Corp. In the barbershop, she is the first held event for a financial consulting planning event. So they are looking for licensed nail technicians. They're also hiring barbers, and also they're interested in anyone who is known as a loctician, because that is something that is in need. So you can visit them, soon as they pray on expanding with offering pedicures and other spa services. And they are seeking, as I stated, licensed barbers, female, male, and loctician braiders. My name is Kim Seabrook. You have been watching a Good Look in News on Millennium TV 24. And please feel free to contact them at info@masterblendscorp.com. info@masterblendscorp.com. You've been watching a Good Look in News, and we appreciate you. See you next time.